Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
I don't want to lose. I want to win.
I need professional help.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sports Betting Weekly, sponsored by EasySportsData.com. The books use data, shouldn't you too? And this is Easy Sports Data, like the preschoolers use. EasySportsData.com.
I win here and I win there. Now what?
Sports Betting Weekly.
I want to win.
Here comes the money.
Here we go.
Money talk. Here comes the money.
You should also check out SportsBettingLessons.com. You'll learn some old tricks because sometimes how you bet is more important than who you bet. SportsBettingLessons.com.
Let's just do it. Let's meet this thing head on. And you were in it to win it. Talk about an education.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Wow, winning.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Well, it's welcome back. Happy New Year to Sports Betting Weekly Live. We took off for the very last week of 2021, and I actually have a great story. It was what every sports bettor wants to have happen. But first, let's get to our guests. Actually, we have a duo from 151 Sports Investing tonight. John from GMF Sports Consultants. He's got family in town, I think he said. So he's not here, but we got Blackhawk West and we got Mohammed. Mohammed, you've been here before. We're expecting you to slide right back into your winning role. But so here's what I got to tell you. Then we're going to go right to live opportunities. You know how many times in your life you said, I need to pick six, I need to pick six, I need to pick six? And I got one in the Michigan State game because, as you know, when a defensive guy catches an interception on the basically almost in the red zone, the other team, they normally slide down or they go out of bounds. This dude kept running. And my wife goes, I didn't make a sound. I didn't high five. I just watched it. I just was expecting him to do the Rams guy. Remember when the Rams guy did it on the 5-yard line? And he did. He went into the end zone. So my wife looks at me and goes, you just won? I said, yeah. She goes, but you didn't say anything. I just assumed that they knew I had him. He was going to go down on the 4, but he ran all the way into the end zone. And Michigan State second half over was a winner. And you know what? It was a happy new year for me. So let's talk right away.
You deserve it because the amount of times you've been on the bad side of that.
Yeah, we're going to talk right away. Well, you know what? Again, how many times you said I need to pick six? You never get them. You get them occasionally, just enough. It's like that heroin, just enough to keep you not killing yourself, you know. That is the end of Thursday Night Football as we know it. For the next handful of weeks, well, actually at least 3 weeks, we're going to have some football to talk about, but it won't be live. So we slide into doing live stuff, and we've had such great runs, especially during the pandemic when the sports schedules are all whacked up. But because Blackhawk West, his name is Blackhawk West, you assume he knows a handful of things about the hockey puck guys, and he does. And so we went with that. And then, of course, John, we were making fun of him on the other show. The dude, really, he says, I like this team. They're getting 10. They win the game on the court, you know. There's schools that I don't even know their mascot. I don't even know the name of the team. I know the team, but I don't know their mascot. So Mohammed, if I was going to put you on the fence now, once football ends, what's your best sport?
It's going to be NBA. That's my go-to.
All right, there's 4 games tonight. One's already started. A couple just are going to be tipping off any second. And then the Lakers or the Clippers are at Phoenix later tonight. Have you looked at any of these 4 games?
Yeah, so I've actually 3 of them. I've got a parlay going for me as well. I know 151, we try to stay away from those. But I've got Boston by 2. I've got New Orleans winning. Golden State, they've got a lot of injuries and COVID, all that stuff going on. And then, believe it or not, I've got Phoenix by 10.5 against the Clippers. So that's my little parlay.
You know what? The Pick'em game in New Orleans, that's a point spread. There's no doubt that I would be scratching my head if I didn't know Golden State had injuries. And again, that's, as I transition to football, it takes a while for me to really give it enough about those other sports to do the homework it takes to handicap. And that's why we were laughing the last show. Blackhawk, we just listened to Nostradamus on some of the things, you know. So what about tonight for you, Blackhawk? What are you on?
So the puck's going to drop here in about 30 minutes. I'm looking at the Florida-Dallas. I really like Dallas in that game, but what I'm looking at right now for a live play, I'm taking Boston. It's Minnesota at Boston in the NHL. We're about to start the second period, but I'm going to take Boston, and I'm going to take the 1 goal. It's minus 150 or minus 155. Again, you got to calibrate mentality for hockey. It's very similar to soccer. I do like the money line, so I'm gonna touch that a little bit, but I'm gonna take the 1 puck and or the 1 goal, and then I'm gonna take a little bit of money line. I like Boston in this spot at home. They're the least injured and the least COVID affected by out of the 2 teams, and they're at home, and we're getting value right now with them being down in the first period.
So you're getting Boston plus 1.5 at minus 150?
Plus 1 for minus 150.
Okay, plus 1. All right.
Yep. So it's either a push or an outright win. If it goes to overtime, we're cashing. And then I'm going to take a quarter unit on the actual money line at a plus 120 payout.
Yeah, I'm going to follow you on the Boston Bruins. I've gotten plus 117 now, so it's a little different, but not enough to change. And here's why, because I don't have access to here. I have to switch accounts to get access to the plus 1, but I'm going to just do that. In terms of the basketball game, you mentioned Boston. You have Boston, so they've already tipped off, right?
Yeah, and I got in on so first quarter I had them at covering 1 point, which they did. I'm trying to figure out how to get back in the game now. What I'm really looking at is Knicks under 97.5. I just can't see it. I mean, they've got 3 quarters
I'm
left.
looking at the it was a low scoring first quarter, and we're going to talk about John's play last night here in a little bit. It was a low scoring first quarter, but so do you think it's going to be an under game? Should I look at saying, hey, they only scored 43 points?
Yeah, I would look at
the over, or are you saying if you like the Knicks under?
I like the Knicks under, and it's right now it's at 97.5. It started off at 110, I think, and that's where my under is right now.
All right, so I'm going to hop on that and follow that. That's under 96.5 is what I got. So it went down again, right?
There you go.
All right, so we're live on a couple plays, but so Wes, were you involved? Oh, I got shut out on that Knicks line, so I have to come back. That's the one thing about live action, right? Not only does it go away quick, sometimes you don't get to bet it. It's like they got the pretty lady that waves her hand over the roulette table. No more bets. Hey, so Wes, you saw that over bet that John gave us last night in the NBA.
Yep, sure did.
They scored 70-something points in the first quarter. They scored more than that in the second quarter. And I said the words that my family hates when I say it's going to be really hard to lose this game. And they didn't score 78 points in the second half. It was the wildest swing in an NBA game I have ever seen. It had to be some kind of record, right? The highest first half and the lowest second half in the history of the NBA.
It was tremendous. And I don't understand how John has a knack for picking these wild card deals.
And I was counting. So I cashed the first quarter. I cashed the first half. I mean, I was cashing these over bets with half the period to go, half the second quarter. But then all of a sudden, I'm thinking, I may not get this. And it really, in hindsight, they went over by 3 or 4. But the line had dropped. I don't think the game went over for the original line. I think it landed somewhere in the middle between what John gave us and what it opened at. But it was so wild. But again, because I had those 2 units that I already cashed already, guess what? If it was going to be the weirdest way to lose an over in the history of losing overs, I was okay with it because I'm still going 2-1. But it ended up covering. But it was wild, and it just doesn't it reiterate. It's called gambling for a reason, Wes.
Yeah, at best, it's a gamble.
Woo! No doubt about it. All right, so we are live on a couple things. We are live on a team total under in the NBA. We are live on a home team that's a favorite that's losing on the ice, right? They were losing on the ice, and they are favored. So that's always a good thing. And that's what happened. I mentioned Blackhawk West with Houston. Sometimes the opportunities are there where you got to just find it. You may have not been handicapping a game, but if you see a situation where it's not passing the smell test, that team shouldn't be beating that other team, you can get a real benefit on the line. Because I got to think, well, you got plus 120, and it had to start at minus 170, something like that, right?
And that's Muhammad can speak to it. That's how we live our college Saturdays.
Yeah.
We start off with interest on a game or two that we think we're right, and the initial line is wrong. And then we get about 10 minutes into the game, and before you know it, we're watching and we're invested in 3 games that we never even thought of, cashing before halftime, and you just kind of take what the day gives to you.
Well, the Ohio State bowl game, we had talked about that. It would have been better than the Boston Bruins game up in Lake Tahoe, except for one minor detail. I ran out of money. I had every penny that I had, because every time they scored, I bet again. Every time they scored, I bet again. Every time I scored, I bet again. Every time I scored, and I just clipping. So I ended up hitting the first half over 3 times, and I had my buddy who's not a sports bettor was over. I guess it was New Year's Day. It was New Year's Day, right? So he says, so what do you got? I said, pick a number between 60 and 70 and a half. I got it. And of course, they went over that early. And then again, those bets don't cash. I did have some, I got that first half money back, but I kept betting that too. And it was one of those games where when you can cash 8 and 10 tickets in a game, it sure makes sports betting a lot more fun, guys, doesn't it, man? Man, oh, man.
Yeah, and I mean, there's 2 teams, I mean, for the last 2 years. I mean, Ohio State and Alabama. I mean, you just put it on the touchdown, bam, put it again, touchdown, bam. And
you know what? It's funny you mentioned that, Mohammed, because here's what I got to know. And we haven't talked the NCAA data, but we will. So last year, Georgia beat Cincy, right? Then they beat Michigan. If they beat Alabama, they'll have beaten all 3 of the schools that are in there in their last 3 bowl games. That's pretty cool. It doesn't mean a damn thing. And then that 52 plus 3. Let's start with Blackhawk West. You guys are both from 151 Sports Investing, so I don't have to say that every time. Blackhawk West, when you saw plus 3 for Alabama, what did you think? Yeah, are you hearing him, Muhammad?
No, I apologize. Saban as a dog just doesn't happen. Bama as a dog just doesn't happen. So that was the first thing I saw, but the line is not really moving. I've seen it at 2.5. I've seen it go to 3. So it almost feels like the odds makers are content being exposed on this game with so much public action on Georgia, but. I think Muhammad and I are on opposite sides of this. We were on opposite sides of the Michigan and Georgia game, and I think we're on opposite sides of this game. But I just think Bama in any underdog situation is a gift of what they're capable of, and Georgia's going to beat them at some point. I just don't know that it's going to happen here.
Well, you with the Michigan game, at what point in time did you say, "Oh, I got that wrong"? I mean, because my son was saying it early.
I mean, it was early in that game, and that was kind of a YOLO play where every time I won, I would throw a little bit more on it. So by the time we got to game time, there's 7, I think it was like 7.5 units was the total. So it would have been a nice cash if it hit, and it was all for plus money. So it wasn't a big hit to take that day. And we cashed really well on the dog outright with that Central Michigan earlier in the day on the money line and the plus 7. So I was having a great New Year's. It was great.
Yeah, and again, because technically, if you're wearing your colors, you want to root against Michigan anyway, so it worked out well for you. You didn't have to spend a lot of money; you got to root against them.
Yeah, karma at its best.
There you go. All right, so let's talk about. Before we get to Wes and the Circa, I want to talk to Muhammad about This is your very first ever Week 18, right? You've never had one before, have you, Mohammed?
No.
None of us have. But seriously, where are you coming with this? What are you thinking? Are you going to play normal? Are you going to play like it's preseason? You going to watch? You going to bet? What are you going to do?
I'm going to play something, and I'll play something every week. I just don't know where I'm going to get in. It depends, right? So, like, Green Bay, are they motivated to play? I mean, they just clinched the first seed, right? I know the spread, I think it's at 4 right now against a Detroit team. But what is Kansas City going to do? Are they going to, they play on Saturday, but are they going to rest their starters? Are they going to play them with the hopes that Tennessee loses and they get in on that first round? Who knows? Who's benching their players for the second half? So it's really hard. You got to look at it case by case. One that I'm looking at is, I think Dallas and Philadelphia are, I think, a 5.5 right now. That's a division rival, and both teams are still kind of fighting for some seeding as well. But that'll be an interesting one as well.
It's funny because there's a couple teams that have to rely on a couple other teams to beat them, and those teams are Jacksonville and Houston. And if I had, as a player, if I said I really need Jacksonville to win, man, I don't know if I'm going to even get suited up for that game. How is Jacksonville going to beat the Colts, Wes?
They're not. I mean, they're not. And that team, the coaching staff has been there for not even a full season. So it's not like a normal coaching scenario where the head coach is gone and there's an assistant that the players believe in and that they're fighting for. That's not what's happening in Jacksonville. Urban Meyer didn't really even assemble a staff because he had no NFL credibility. So the smart move for anybody in that Jacksonville organization is get Trevor Lawrence on the bench. Do not risk this man's future. Let's get into the offseason. There's no way Jacksonville beats the Colts. The 15.5, I'm not a fan of laying that many points in football, but this is as juicy of an opportunity as you'll get to lay 15.
Well, I said the same words last week when I visited the MD shows on Belly Up Fantasy, and I said to them that New England Jacksonville game, right? I said, yeah, that's too many points for me. I guess it was. In hindsight, we're sports bettors who got a pretty good memory, huh? All right, so here's what we're gonna do. If it is 8:15, right about 8:15 in New York, you're watching live on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Otherwise, you're probably not going to get any benefit out of our live stuff if you're checking us out on sportsbettingweeklylive.com, on the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network, or on the Sports Betting channel. But we're going to give you some plays for this weekend. But for right now, we're going to talk a little bit more about the sponsor, the Championship Footballs. They've got a Natty presale. That's basically what it is. Is your team in the Natty? Are you a Georgia Bulldog or Alabama Crimson Tide fan? Good for you. With the championshipfootballs.com presale, if you know a Georgia Bulldogs fan or know an Alabama Crimson Tide fan, good for them, because the footballs are half price. We hold our presale every year, and it really is the best time to get them the coolest present. They'll open that day, guaranteed. That's right, 50% off on our presale for the 2021 National Championship Souvenir Footballs. Sure, somebody's got to lose, and those orders get a full 100% refund. But somebody's going to win, and all those presale orders are 50% off. Plus, check out the premium display case combos. Save another 20% instantly on your display case, the perfect present for that huge fan that you know, even if it's you. championshipfootballs.com. And it's always a thing that I've told people. I almost never, ever have action on the Natty, because what I'm doing is rooting for whoever buys the most footballs ahead of time. So if you're a Georgia fan and you want me to root for the Bulldogs, go to championshipfootballs.com and get your half-price football. And it's basically half price because we want to sell as many as we can early, reward those people that had faith in your team. But there's really no risk, right, Wes? Because if you could get your money back, 100% full refund, wouldn't you bet crazy-ass shit you don't bet now?
Of course I would. Free 99. We love it.
Cats and dogs playing together. Give me 10 on that. All right, so let's talk about the Circa for Wes. Was this your first year?
This is the first year of the Circa. First year I've done it.
What do you think, in hindsight, if you could change one thing, what would it be? Just one thing.
I think I've overthought trying to find games that nobody else would be on, rather than actually just laying my action, because the things that I'm actually playing don't always match up to the Circa. I've done things like I've touched Thursday night and Monday night in the Circa, thinking that nobody else will, and I should just lay my picks. I'd have gone 5-0 and 4-1 so many more times than I actually did. I deviated from who I truly am as a handicapper on certain weeks.
And that's important. And really, this, as I've always said, it has nothing to do with sports betting. It's life. If you don't stop and assess and reassess whatever you're doing in life going forward, you're going to do the same thing again next time. There's no doubt about it, So in terms of week 18, all year it's been so tough because, this is not a waiver wire. This is a COVID wire, Where are you in this final week of the season?
So there's a few games that I like. Obviously, I have the Circa picks to put in, but there's a few games that I actually really do like. As crazy as it sounds, I really like the Jets getting 16.5. I may buy the hook and go to 17 or wait for the hook to come, but this is going to be a mess of a game in a terrible storm. And we're expecting a lot of snow on the East Coast. So the Jets, they're showing up. They have a coach that's not necessarily on the hot seat. So the story with the Jets is not necessarily gone downhill, crash, trash. I mean, they're in theory, they're building something with a new coach. So they're going to play hard for him. And so the 16.5 in any NFL game makes sense. This is a division matchup. So I really like that game this weekend. And, New England is also in the division, but New England's laying 6 points. They're going to Miami. Tua can't score points. I mean, he struggled to score points last week. Now you got him going up against a defense that if you score a touchdown against this New England defense, keep the ball.
No, and it gets even worse after the half. After halftime, they're just not allowing any points at all, that New England team. And that's one of the reasons they've had such a run in covering the spread in the second half,
Yeah, they have. So this weekend's a hard one, but I mean, you just go where there's a story that makes sense and keep it light. And if I hit one, I may lay half that on something else. But this is a very light week. I'm going to be on the FCS Natty, which is early Saturday. That's a Saturday at 11 o'clock Central. Montana State against the Bison. Again, feels like every year they're in that game. 7.5 point spread.
And the Bison are favored?
Bison are a 7.5 point favorite. I'm not on the 7.5 for the game, but I do like the first half at 3.5.
Yeah. The bottom line is there are dynasties. What we're talking about Monday night is pretty much a dynasty. ChampionshipFootballs.com has seen so many, more than 50% of our footballs going into this season were Alabama footballs. They've won 6 of the 12 that we've been around. So it's pretty amazing. All right, so let's talk about going forward with the football being gone, and there's college basketball, there's soccer, of course. I really enjoy soccer. I do the same thing that I do with all the sports with soccer as well. I use FlashScore. FlashScore is the best app for soccer results and soccer info. And I look for, teams that are scorers that aren't scoring. I just look for teams that consistently put the ball in the net, and they have no goals so far. I try to get to about the 20-minute mark. And I just did the same thing here. So it's 13 minutes ago in that second period. We have Boston for the game. You have Boston +1. I am hopping on the second period over 1.5 goals at 0-0. That gives me 13 minutes, but it dropped from 2.5 to 1.5. So that's really what I look for. And I won't hesitate. Same way with soccer. I won't hesitate to, rather than send my money, I try to get my money back when it drops to 0.5. If I don't get that goal, I don't want goose eggs. As long as it's not goose eggs, I'm playing again and I'm getting my money back and playing again. It's not as good as the football deal where you get half off and your money back, but it's pretty darn close. All right, so what are we going to be talking about next Thursday, Wes?
Well, if Omicron would ease up on us fun lovers, I'd be talking a lot more hockey. A lot of these rosters, and there's teams that had 5 goalies see action. So the NHL, I find myself every day looking through the card and just determining who's the healthiest. I mean, who's the healthiest? And wait a minute, how long have they been healthy? And so I've been eliminating games through that, and all systems are kind of out the window. We had a real good system with the second day in a row of a road team with a goalie change. That worked for a while, but we're going to go to hockey for a while. We're going to be looking to the NFL playoffs, and then here in about a month, the NHL is going to slow down, and we're shifting. 151 shifting heavily into Olympic hockey because Olympic hockey gets very disruptive to the NHL. Some players go, some don't.
I heard though that the NHL was not sending their players.
They're not going to stop NHL action in order to allow them to go. But there's some players that have language in their contracts to where they get to go be a part of the national team. So there's some roster crunching for guys like us to look through, and it makes it fun to handicap. There's also Russia. There's a huge amount of Russian, like Yarmir Jagr is, he's still playing for his national team somewhere. I don't know if it's Russia, but I mean, he's still playing for his team somewhere in the world at 50 plus years old. But so, and you don't have to think about these Olympic games. They go all out. They want to be playing.
Yeah. It's the opposite of the bowl game syndrome, right? It's for your country. You do whatever you got to do. All right, so let's talk about. We're going to Vegas for the AFC NFC weekend again. It's our Better Way weekend. We do it every single year. Real excited. I personally am very excited about the Pegasus because I have been in Vegas for the Pegasus before. It's just a beautiful card at Gulfstream. And it sometimes can be chilly in January in Vegas. There's no doubt about that. But in terms of our friends that have to go for one for prop swap, I think I'm going to do that, Wes, this year. I'm going to pick a couple teams to win the college basketball championship. And I'm going to do 2 tickets, one for me and one for prop swap, and see what happens. So I'm putting that out there early. That gives us about 3 weeks to kind of figure out. And I'm going to definitely appreciate your input because I'm just now starting to get, and I told you guys, until football's over, college football, I'm not doing college basketball. College football is hard enough. We do the data. There's, 166 teams some Saturdays. That's every single day in hoops. All you need for hoops is a ball and shorts. You can pretty much, any school can have a basketball team, All right, so where are we at? Let's check out our cheat sheet here. We should go back to our live action. So let's have Muhammad give us an update on where that Boston game that he has on and where the next team total is and what it is live right now, so we know what we have.
Yeah, so right now it is, and they just got a 3-point. So they're at 45 points. So quarter's ending. It's about 40 seconds left in the half. So they've got about another 53 points to cover, which they're not probably going to hit between the next 2 quarters. I've covered my 1 point for the half and the quarter, plus my -2 is easily going to cover for the game, bearing no. No.
Well, no. Well, remember what happened to me last night. Be careful what you say out loud. But they got a 20-point lead, right, at halftime, basically. And would you agree, Wes, when one team's getting their butts kicked like that, the team that's getting their butts kicked isn't going to score as many points, right?
Go the other way.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So good for that. And then what about the hockey game? Any update?
We're still 2-1. So at this point, we're a push, which better than losing. But Boston's going to start scoring soon.
You're for the game. Right?
Yeah, I'm for the game.
Right. So, yeah, we want to see Boston tie it up because this way then we only need one more half of a goal. I don't think you can get a half of a goal, though.
Yeah, and no, no, and here in about I don't know 6 minutes on my clock, we're getting ready with this Florida Dallas game, and I like Dallas money line for the first period. It's plus money. It's plus 140, and I like Dallas in this spot at home, coming off of a rough performance. Florida scores a ton of goals, but I think Dallas is going to score more in this situation. They're well rested and they're pretty healthy.
All right, so that's good to know. So that is when we come back from break, we could look at hopping on that one as well, because that's, like you said, at the bottom of the hour. All right, let's get to Mohammed in the national championship game.
Roll Tide. Roll Tide.
Yeah, so what are you looking at?
So I want to look at the over, right? So what is Alabama's going to do? When we looked at that last game, it was between Georgia and Alabama, which I was with Alabama on that as well. I want to see what the over looks like. Now, the problem I have is their star receiver, Michi's out, right, for the year. So I don't know what that does to the offense. But I don't trust Georgia in the whole offense fiasco. Who's quarterback, who's not the quarterback. And to be completely honest with you, their defense doesn't match up well with Bama. So I'm looking at first half over. Let me pull it up, what I've got. And again, there's no way Nick Saban loses again. Or there's no way Nick Saban's going to lose to Georgia. But the game's at 3. I'm taking Bama as a dog. The over for the first half is 11.5. 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that's a no-brainer, but there's some stats. I've got some stats. I'll throw a stat at you. Which of the two teams in Monday night's national championship game has lost against the spread for the last 7 straight first quarters?
Well, I'm going to say Alabama because we were on Cincy in the first quarter and we cashed.
That's right. And they didn't score a touchdown against Cincy or Georgia the first time, or Auburn or Arkansas. They have not scored a touchdown since they played LSU back in November in the first quarter. Now, in terms of that first quarter, Georgia, how many times in the last 14 games have they given up a point in the first quarter? Take a guess. We asked 14 games, how many points were scored in the first quarter? How many of those games said
it's 0? 0-0.
They don't give up points, guys. 4 games, total of 22 points in all those games, 10 shutouts. They shut out Michigan, before that Alabama, before that Georgia Tech. Tennessee scored 10 points on them. I don't know how that happened in hindsight. The final score is 41-17, so obviously they rectified that ship. 3-0-0, 3-0-0, 6. South Carolina scored 6 against them. I don't know if it was 2 field goals, but they were down 14-6. So, yeah, the bottom line is those are plays that, you got national championship. Well, what is the thing when you have championship fights, right? They sit there and they punch each other for a couple rounds, round or two. I definitely could see this first quarter, being a 0-0, 3-0, 7-0 kind of game. I don't know what do you have yet, Wes? Could you see if the first quarter line is out for the total?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I'm looking at all of them right now because once
9.5 or 10.5.
It's so the first quarter is 10.5.
Yeah,
and the first half is 26.5.
But see, the second half, the first half is different than the first quarter because they do all that sparring, they do that the kind of playing in the middle of the field, and then boom, boom, boom. It's 14-7, and with 13 minutes to go in the first half.
They do, and I think everything you're saying is valid about the first quarter. But this is a team that just played each other 1 game ago. They'll be about 5 weeks detached from the last time they played each other.
Look what happened last time they played. It was 0-3 after 1 and 24-17 after 2 periods, 2 quarters. So that's where I'm leaning right there. I'm leaning that way. But again, I don't have a lot of action on this game because let me tell you. I'll tell you exactly why. Is your team in the Natty? Are you a Georgia Bulldog or Alabama Crimson Tide fan? Good for you. With the championshipfootballs.com presale, if you know a Georgia Bulldogs fan or know an Alabama Crimson Tide fan, good for them, because the footballs are half price. We hold our presale every year, and it really is the best time to get them the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. That's right, 50% off on our presale for the 2021 National Championship souvenir footballs. Sure, somebody's got to lose, and those orders get a full 100% refund. But somebody's going to win, and all those presale orders are 50% off. Plus, check out the premium display case combos. Save another 20% instantly on your display case, the perfect present for that huge fan that you know, even if it's you. Championshipfootballs.com. So, yes, it is true. The rumor is true that if you want me to root for your team, I'm rooting for whoever sells the most footballs before kickoff at 50% off. After that, then it's going to go back to full price, and you're on your own. But if you want my support of your team, if you're a Dog fan, go buy a football. If you're a Tide fan, go buy a football. And I will promise you the most footballs is who I root for. And I'll tell you right now, remember, we sold a lot of LSU when they had the greatest offense in the history of college football, and they were down early. I don't know if you guys remember. And my wife looked at me. I said, I think we're going to be fine. And then, of course, they ended up, I don't know, they put a 50, I think, on them, or 49 or some sick number, you know. So the other aspect of the prop swap that we talked about, Wes, with the national championship is right now, that's a perfect time for us we could actually tell John, go get us 2 tickets on the Super Bowl, you know, or the NFC or the AFC, because as you know, when you buy it now, if they win, the price is going to drop. No different than, you know, when Boston ties it up. We're not going to get Boston at plus 120. If you had to pick right now, Muhammad, the Super Bowl winner, who would it be?
Green Bay. It pains me to
What
say.
are they, like Green 3 or 4 to 1?
I haven't checked the odds on them. I see a Green Bay, Kansas City Super Bowl, Green Bay coming out.
Well, just so you know, a Green Bay, Kansas City Super Bowl would be really good, because we've had, unlike Alabama where we have them every year, we've had a Green Bay at championshipfootballs.com, and we've had a Kansas City, and we ain't got no more. Actually, we have one. We have one of each. The Green Bay one is actually signed. It's a beautiful, beautiful ball. You can check that out on the website as well. Okay, it looks like Wes is frozen.
Oh, so Green Bay is plus 325.
Okay, so it looks like Wes is frozen. I just had a freaking cramp from I pumped at the gym a little early today because I had to get back for the show. So let's see. We're going to get rid of Blackhawk West. All right, so you got the odds in front of you there for the Super Bowl?
I do. So we've got the Packers at plus 325, Kansas City at plus 550.
And
that's for the Super Bowl.
Who's the biggest long shot of the teams that are in the plus that you really believe has a shot?
The Rams are 850, and that, Cam Akers is coming back from an injury, hasn't played all year. That offense matched with, paired with that defense, I could easily see them overthrowing Green Bay. That would surprise me. With
Stafford as a quarterback, the one thing you're not going to have is a lot of stats for him in the playoffs, right?
Yep.
Because did Detroit, I don't know if they made it once, maybe once or twice they got a wild card, I think.
Nothing worth noting. But yeah,
exactly. So, and the Rams should, with the defense, they should be able to play with anybody.
Yeah. So that would be the one that surprised me. I don't believe in Dallas. I don't believe that Tampa can do it. They don't have all the pieces.
What about Tennessee if Derrick Henry comes back? Don't you have to agree that changes everything?
I've seen that play before. It was 2 years ago, 2019. They had the chance against Kansas City, and unfortunately they wet the bed. Buffalo's the only one that could potentially, would maybe make it out from the AFC as opposed to Kansas City. I just don't see Tennessee doing it.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, so when we get back from break, again, if it's 8:30-ish, right around New York time, Blackhawk West look like he's back. If it's 8:30, right about New York time, you're watching live on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You also could listen to us on the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network. You could check us out on sportsbettingweeklylive.com and the Sports Betting Channel. When we come back, we're going to check on the Bruins. We're going to check on the Knicks. You're listening to Sports Betting Weekly.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
At championshipfootballs.com, they offer a 100% money-back guarantee on every single souvenir football that they sell. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. There's nothing worse than trying to find the right gift for somebody that already has everything. Whether that special present is for a New England Patriots fan or an Ohio State Buckeyes backer. Maybe Grams is a lifelong New York Giants supporter. Or your brother-in-law is a 12th man living in Seattle. Know a member of the Michigan State Alumni Association? Is there a better Father's Day gift for someone who's a Baltimore Ravens fan? Send them the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Now, if your favorite pro team is the Buffalo Bills or those Minnesota Vikings, well, they're sorry about that. Also, if you're a New Mexico State Aggies or Tulane Green Wave alumnus, not much they can do. After all, the name isn't nice effort, you had a pretty good season, footballs.com. The name is championshipfootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed.
Hey, this is an important message. I'm Second Half Chaz from Sports Betting Weekly. Sports betting is supposed to be a hobby. It's supposed to be fun. If you're hurting yourself by gambling with money you don't have, check out our website for the Gamblers Anonymous phone number.
When Vince Young scored on 4th and 5 in the 2006 Rose Bowl, two things happened. The Texas Longhorns won the NCAA title, and ChampionshipFootballs.com was born. From Texas to Alabama to Ohio State, and now for Super Bowl winners too. ChampionshipFootballs.com is the place for the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Now, 10 years later, ChampionshipFootballs.com has the autographs too. See if any of these names remind you of a special time in your football life. Michael Bennett, Lou Holtz, Joe Montana, Devin Smith, Jameis Winston, Rocky Blyer, Rocket Ishmael, Ara Parsegian, Mike Stonebreaker, Chris Zorich, Luther Bradley, Todd Light, Tony Rice, Lawrence Taylor, Dave Casper, Marcus Mariota, Rudy Rudiger, David Tyree. Enter the promo code RADIO and you'll instantly save $50 on any of the ChampionshipFootballs.com autographed footballs. ChampionshipFootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
Chicken dinner.
Welcome back to Sports Betting Weekly. I'm Second Half Chaz. We are joined with a couple guys from the 151 Sports Investing crew, Black Hawk West and Mohammed. We are also on the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network, as well as live here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You can check us at sportsbettingweeklylive.com and on the Sports Betting Channel. And you know what I do, guys? Each week I go back and I kind of watch the show from the week before just to see how bad the audio is or what we could do with the images in the background. But the one thing that I noticed is how often we are right. And Wes, you made a comment that when you and John line up, it's pretty good. What happens when you and Mohammed, because you mentioned earlier you're on different sides of equation with regards to Monday, but when you guys are betting together, how often do you agree?
We don't disagree very often, and I would say when we do, it's a coin flip. But for the most part, we're usually on the same page. But we also are looking at different things. Like last college football season, it was all coastal for me. Mohammed's go-to was North Carolina and Florida. So like we're both it's kind of a divide and conquer. So when it comes to NBA, I take his word for it because that's just not my strength. When it comes to CFL or college football, there's very little with CFL Mohammed's going to disagree with me on. So we don't find ourselves disagreeing very often. We were on opposite sides of the college football playoff, and Mohammed was right when it came to the Michigan Georgia play. But we don't disagree very often, which is we do well together.
Yeah, you haven't been more wrong on a game than that game in a long time that I remember. But you did a little of that profit sharing with the Jacksonville, if I remember, this summer as well, didn't you? Did you start the year off before the season started with the Jacksonville?
Oh, I was so it is. I've totaled it up, and it's close to $100 in $1 and $2 bets on Jacksonville winning the entire Super Bowl, and I was paying it. Every time I had a weird dollar amount in my account, it's 73 cents, 38 cents, $1.54. Hey, I just won something cool. Let's put $3 on it. So I mean, it would have been a Tesla for the most part.
No,
If you would have won it.
Of course. And again, the pigs were flying, and worked. It turned out worse than I think anybody possibly could have thought. Right. All right, so let's do this. Let's get back to our live. We only got a couple live plays, and then part of that is I'm not at this point really hopping into anything. I'm still worried about the NFL for Week 18. As Muhammad mentioned, we're going to try to find some plays. And I'm transitioning now, and I'm starting to pay attention to the college basketball scene. I am keeping, you could pick on all the games or just the top 25. I'm watching just the top 25 right now. I figure those are the teams that are going to be one of my picks in the national championship. There's a real good shot that if you're watching the top 25, the national champion's coming out of that group of people. And it's just they're on TV. They're a little easier to find. The lines are a little more solid. There's more press. Some of those schools, they could have, 3 guys. Some of the schools that these guys from our show, John is one of them. Who else is? Jonathan from San Antonio. Bill. Tom Vasco. Tom Vasco is one of them. They play these schools that the only way they're getting in, they got to win their conference tournament because they're not getting an at-large unless they're undefeated. If they're undefeated, they're winning their conference tournament. But I'll give them credit because, again, you're talking 380-something schools that have basketball games on Saturday. It sure makes, when you walk into Vegas and you look up on the board at the Superbook on a college basketball Saturday, it's pretty cool to see all the names. I think we just got a cash ticket. We're going to go out to Black Hawk West, who's covering the Minnesota Wild Boston game, and we're checking on that 1.5 second period total that we put in live. His lips are moving. He's probably back.
Sorry, I mute when I'm not talking. We got it. Minnesota went up 3-1. Boston scored a goal to come right back. So we're alive on the money line. We're alive on the +1, but we have cashed our over 1.5.
There we go. Good for us. So let's go out to Muhammad, who's covering the Knicks game for us.
Yeah, so we're sitting pretty. I mean, we're in the third quarter. They've only got 50 points. Again, we've got 47.5 left between the two quarters. I'm feeling really good. I'm ashamed that I didn't get back in on the Knicks because I feel like they're going to make a good run here shortly.
Actually, you know what I was thinking? Quite the opposite. Here's what I was thinking. What do I know about basketball? I know that when a team gets ahead by a large amount, there's a point where the other team has to use all their energy to catch up. And so they go from 20, they get it to 17, they get it to 13, they get it to 9, they might even get it to 7, and then all that energy is gone. And then it trickles up to 11, 13, and it turns to be back. So I think that I'm going to pay attention to that game. And if it gets down to 5 points, I'm going to hop on Boston again. That's what I'm going to do. And again, what you said, Muhammad, both of us could win that bet.
Yeah,
actually totally be a middle bet because I'm not talking about doing it to start the second half. I'm talking about doing it in live action. So, sometimes, the bets you don't make, they hurt you a little bit more because in hindsight, you should have done it. But what are you going to do? So.
Yeah. So
all right. So we're gonna slide into NFL Week 18. Going to go through and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just pick the game. We're going to cover all the games, but I'm going to pick it. And then I'm just going to have in this order, first Muhammad, then Black Hawk West. Thoughts? Kansas City at Denver. This is Saturday football. I don't think we had Saturday football ever on Week 18 before. Oh, never mind. We never had a Week 18 before. Muhammad.
I'm going to walk away from it, but I'm going to have to go with the Broncos. Kansas City's not going to play. They're probably going to blow them out in the first half. And if they get a good lead, they're going to sit their guys down. There's no way you're going to risk injuring any of these guys in the second half. Once they can assure that they're winning, they're benching the guys.
Blackhawk West.
It's a hard thing for me to lay that many points on the Chiefs, although they've covered every spread other than this past week where they lost to a dog outright. If this game was on Sunday, I'd be on the different side of it because on Sunday they would have an indication as to what they needed to do. They have to win this game and they have to keep going and they can't let it get out of hand because they won't know what's going to happen with Houston and Tennessee because that game takes place on Sunday. So this game has been all over the place. It's 11.5. I got to stay with Muhammad. I agree with what he's saying. You got to take the points and you got to take the 11.5. I just don't know that if the Chiefs are ahead by 20, they're going to pull them. I mean, that's a smart thing to do.
And you know, that I would say the way you guys described that game is exactly what why Sports Betting Weekly is different, because we're never talking about the game. The bottom line is, you know, we're betting period ones and quarter ones and half ones, and maybe we'll come back into the game. Maybe we won't. Mo on the Mo Radio Show used to make fun of me because my go-to movie is The Sound of Music. I just love the movie. It's like taking Valium for me. It just lowers me down. Plus, the Nazis get their asses kicked and embarrassed by kids. These were kids. But you can't be afraid to do that. You can't be afraid to say, hey, I'm not betting the game. I'm just betting the first half, because it's a situation where there's no doubt in my mind that I would rather have a healthy team and be a 2 seed than have a guy get hurt winning a game and they could be a 1 seed. Especially some of those players that they have are so valuable to that team. You lose a guy like Kelsey, you ain't replacing a Kelsey. There ain't another guy on that team that plays like Kelsey plays. All right, next game, Mohammed, Dallas at Philly.
This is hard for me, but I'm going to go Philly. I mean, it's, you know, I'm going to go Philly, and I'll just leave it there. I'm not playing that game either. It's a division, NFC East. At 151, it stands against everything we like, but it's Philly. Philly's going to have to do it.
All right, so let's talk about that, Wes. Do you even look at that game, or do you just cross it off? Because remember, the bottom line is an opportunity is an opportunity.
Yeah, it is a circuit play, and I am on Philly, and I'm taking the 5 points, and I'll tell you why. Philadelphia, most people don't realize that they're the number 1 rushing team in football. Nobody would think it because they don't have this big, sexy marquee name at running back. Their quarterback, the way that they're leading the league in rushing is with their quarterback as the leading rusher, which is one of the most difficult things to stop because this quarterback can also make you pay with his arm if he chooses to. And he's got a receiver that he's been throwing to since college. So Dallas has struggled to put up points in these last couple games, and Philly is this really good defense that nobody's talking about. So I will have no cash on this game. This is a circa play, so I do have a vested interest, and I'm still in the running to cash in the circa. So you know, again, we both agree. Take Philly, take the points, and when in doubt in a division game, anything over 4, take the dog.
So let's do this. Let's talk about that other game that you both mentioned, the Tennessee-Houston game. Would Kansas City have any reason to think that Houston could beat Tennessee?
Crazier things have happened. I mean,
yeah, I understand that, but really, honestly,
I think you would be foolish to not take your shot at it, and you know, I would say you take the chance. You take your chance. And
no, don't get me wrong. It's a double-digit line. We've talked about this all season long. If you took $1 on every double-digit line and $1 on every or unit on every double-digit line and $1 on every money line for that double-digit, you're probably positive for the year because there's been so many double-digit strong to one. You don't need too many. I always tell people it's 17 to 1. You don't need too many of those to make money. But this is not that. This is a Tennessee team that's probably going to be the top seed. They're 11-5 playing a Houston team that has stunk all year long. Is there any way they could lose, Wes?
Lovie Smith. That is a brilliant defensive mind that is leading the charge for Houston. And Lovie, with a brilliant game plan, is about the only chance they got.
Same question. Same exact question, but I got the Colts Jacksonville game instead. Mohammed.
I mean, the spread's at 16 now, I think. They're kind of like what Wesley said. They're going to bench. There's no reason to playing Trevor Lawrence. I mean, don't risk that kid's future. It's Colts all the way. I have no reason to believe otherwise.
Wes?
No. I mean, the Colts need this game. They have to have this game. Jacksonville does not. And the only thing good Jacksonville has going is that long-haired fella playing quarterback.
All right, Cincinnati has a potential offensive rookie of the year on their roster. That is actually one of the autographs we got when we were in Houston. We have the LSU four-time national championship football signed by some young kid who hadn't played it down yet in the NFL, Jamar Chase. So we're pretty excited about that. Those balls, every time he has a big game, the price is going up on those balls. So Cincinnati, Cleveland.
So that I would tell you to look at it, and it's Joe Burrow, I think, is not playing. I don't think Baker's playing. And I can't remember if Joe Mixon was playing or not. But there's a lot of outs, and I mean, I'm sure everyone's wondering why is the Cincinnati a dog, but depending on I'm going to go with the Brown just because of their run game. And I can't see Cincinnati covering it without Joe Burrow and Joe Mixon. I just can't.
Well, you know what? The one thing, Mohammed, you got to look at is really having Baker Mayfield not on the field. That's kind of downgraded in any way the last 3 games, right, Wes?
Yeah. I'll tell you on that game. That game, I'm looking at Cleveland, and I'm looking at Q1 or first half overs for Cleveland, because I think that, and Baker is not playing. I mean, he's not. But Baker not playing, I think, is a good thing for them. Nick Mullins is a good quarterback, and if he happens to be the starter, then I just think he's a much better passing quarterback. And Case Keenum is number 2. Case Keenum can sling the ball. So I'm looking at Cleveland, and I'm looking at Q1 over 0.5. I'm looking at them first half. I believe it's 7.5 first half, and I think Cleveland's going to score some points against a Cincy team that has no reason to start defensive players.
All right, so let's look at a couple games that are later in the day. Seattle, Arizona, San Francisco Rams, because 2 of those teams are already in. Seattle doesn't have a shot. The 49ers have a shot, Wes?
The 49ers have a shot, and they got to beat their division opponent to do it. But if you look historically, they've had their number. So as of right now, the 49ers are in a playoff spot. They have they got pretty good tight end. They're passing the ball pretty well. When Jimmy G plays, they're a very different team, despite what controversy there may be out there. And the Rams, it's been very odd the way that they have this collection of talent, and it's just somehow not like you would think on paper they would score 75 points a game and shut teams out.
You're a chef, Wes. You're a chef. Truffles doesn't go with everything.
No.
Same thing with spam, right? You say truffles, you say spam. There's some people that think those are both the greatest foods in the world. Maybe not together.
Yeah. So I think San Francisco sure does have a shot. Shanahan, he's got McVay's number. He has in years past.
Mohammed.
I can't see San Francisco doing it. I'm going to go with the Rams. I told you earlier, I think the Rams could be a tricky one to win the Super Bowl, or at least make it to the Super Bowl. Cam Akers coming back is going to be huge. I think everyone underrates that. How many reps he gets, I don't know. But I'm going to go with the Rams. I believe in Matt Stafford.
Arizona, a month ago, they had the best record in football. Are they in the playoffs right now, Wes?
they're locked into the playoffs. And so a month ago on one of our podcasts, what we do typically at the midway point in the season is we assess, so where do we see this team finishing the year? Very few teams go 13-3. Very few teams go 15-1. So we had Arizona at the 8-0 mark. And we decided that the best move, they were probably going to finish 12-4, somewhere in that range. We decided the best move was to bet money line against Arizona every single week. And it cashed for us at plus 250 dogs, 3 separate occasions. And it was a great play. But yeah, Arizona's in the playoffs. I think that's a real football team. Their defense gets a little bit healthy. They're missing a star wide receiver. That's a very dangerous team in the playoffs. I would not be surprised to see them in the Super Bowl. I don't think they're going to do it, but it wouldn't surprise me.
All right, so here's where we're at. We'll know more next Thursday when we talk. Blackhawk West and Mohammed from 151 Sports Investing. Thanks for joining us. You've been listening to Sports Betting Weekly on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, where the loudmouths are next. And trust me, they've earned their reputation. You got to check them out. Or on the Belly Up Podcast Network, or Belly Up Sports Podcast Network, or the Sports Betting Channel, or sportsbettingweeklylive.com. We got another one coming next week. We'll let you know about that. On the second half, Chaz. Always be cashing.